Hey there YouTube, my name is Nelli and I'm going to share with you today a review on A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. Okay, so this book is about James Frey, the author, who wrote this as a memoir about his time in a rehabilitation center. I'll just read the back here because it really accurately explains what it's about. At the age of 23, James Frey woke up on a plane to find his 4 front teeth knocked out, his nose broken, and a hole through his cheek. He had no idea where the plane was headed, nor any recollection of the past 2 weeks. An alcoholic for 10 years and a crack addict for 3, he checked into a treatment facility shortly after landing. There, he was told he could either stop using or die before he reached age 24. This is Frey's acclaimed account of his 6 weeks in rehab. Okay, so this book. Where do I begin on this book? Okay, I'll start with the good things. Okay, this book was I really liked the writing style. A lot of people hate this writing style, but if you can see here, here there's like a huge paragraph, right? But then he'll go into short sentences, and when there's dialogue, I don't know if I'll be able to find anything, it just goes really short and choppy like this. And I really like that because it's really interesting to see how, see the different kinds of sentences that he uses and when he repeats words to make them stand out more, basically. I really like that. The bad part about that point is that when he does dialogue, he does not do it. It's so difficult to read sometimes. It's so difficult. I can totally understand why people hate it. For example, if 2 people are having a conversation, then he'll say like, hello, and then the next line will be, how are you? And then the next line would be, good, and then the line underneath it would say, how are you? So you don't know when, it's not like you can be like, okay, this is this person, this is this person, blah, blah, blah. It's all jumbled up, and you have to try and pretty much guess like who's talking most of the time, and just go by logic. And I understand that's fine. If you're going to be reading, then of course you have the brain capacity to do this, but it's just so unnecessary. Like, why does the author need to do this? It's not that difficult to just put the same dialogue in one line. Anyways, it's just like a little mini rant. But other than that, I really liked the storyline. I thought that it was really believable, and I thought that it wasn't a quickie recovery type book. It wasn't like, oh, okay, I was in rehab, oh, okay, I'm gone now, okay, I'm fine. You know, it was realistic. It wasn't all happy-go-lucky. It was a slow process. It made sense. It was really good. I really liked that about it. The problem with that is that a lot of the times, the author seemed to drag on the plot line a lot more than it needed to be, and made it more melodramatic than it needed to be. There are horrific scenes that the author did really well to not go too deeply into, because then it would make it seem less realistic. But then there are scenes that aren't that bad, and he just seems to go on and on about them over and over, make it seem so melodramatic, talk about the same thing throughout the entire book, and then it just becomes repetitive. And a lot of the times, repetition is really great. I think it's a really great aspect of novels. I love it when there are repeated aspects, and then throughout the book, like there's a motif or something, and then it comes up at the end, and then you kind of understand why it's there. That's great, but this is just overkill. This was like, James Frey was really trying to make you enjoy it, was really trying to make you cry. He's like, oh yeah, if I write this down, then this person's gonna get really emotional about it, or something like that. It just seemed kind of fake at times, but at other times it seemed incredibly real. So it just wasn't consistent for me. I couldn't decide whether there were some parts that was a 5-star paragraph, and then another part that was like 1 star. It was so bad. It's difficult to rate this book because some parts were amazing and some parts were absolutely awful. Another thing I'd like to say is the very last page. Now, you guys all know that in movies, like especially the old school movies where at the end, they'll show pictures of the character in a slideshow and then it'll say what happened to them after the movie ended. Well, they basically did this, and they said what happened to the characters after the book ended, basically. And I thought that it was just so bad. Some of them were really predictable, so I didn't even need to know that. Some of it was just unnecessary. It was just, like, this isn't really a spoiler because you don't know who I'm talking about, but some people died that just really shouldn't have died. It made no sense, and there was no explanation to it. There was no kind of recovery. It was just blah. I didn't finish the book being like, wow, that was powerful. It was just that certain parts in the book were powerful, but now I'm just going to forget all about them because the actual entirety of the book did not engage me enough. And this took me a long time to read. I mean, this is not that big of a book. It's kind of frayed out because it's I got it from a used bookstore. It was only 430 pages, and since a lot of them are the spaced out lettering, it's not that difficult. Like, it doesn't take you that long to read in theory, but this book took me so long, and I didn't understand why. It didn't hook me for a long period of time. I wasn't trying to read it faster because I was interested. I was trying to read it faster because I didn't understand why it wasn't ending. But yeah, that's basically what I felt about this book. It was either good or really bad. It's really interesting. I think if you have it on your to be read pile and you haven't picked it up yet, just do it. Honestly, it's not a book that I hate. It's not a book that I love. It's just one of those in-the-middle books that I'm glad that I read it because I learned a lot about drugs and alcohol and the alcoholism and addiction. I didn't understand a lot of this before I read this book, and whether it's a hoax, whether some of it was true, I don't really care. It was interesting. It was good. You know, there's not much else I can say about it. I'm not going to remember this book as long as I live. It's just kind of, you know. So, yeah. I don't know. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good. So, I'm going to give it a 3 stars. So, yeah, check this out if you're interested in the topic. If you're, like, I was really interested in the topic, so I did end up liking it a lot more than other people. And if you like recovery books, books about addiction, books about alcoholism, then maybe you'll like it. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.